What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk about Sakazuki. And the reason we need to talk about Sakazuki is because I've done it a little bit of a disservice. Now, it's not that I thought Sakazuki was bad, I never thought that. And I never told you Sakazuki was bad because I never thought Sakazuki was bad because Sakazuki isn't bad. We are, of course, talking about the Sakazuki from OP05. The reason we need to have a chat about this is because I told you that the purple Luffy from OP05 is probably the best leader in the set, which incidentally is still probably true as it happens. But I told you that card was great, and it is. And I told you that Anel was great, and in my defense, it is. We have not talked enough about Sakazuki and how good this leader is, and I'm keeping my eye on all these tournaments over in Japan and other Asian territories, and it started to creep through. There was a big 3v3 tournament in Japan recently, and obviously that's 3v3, it's a little bit different, I grant you. But in the winning team, one of the winning decks, Sakazuki. As a side note, one of the other winning decks in the team was also Purple Luffy. So like I say, Purple Luffy, still a very, very good deck. Decent chance Purple Luffy is still the best one from OP05, but it is no longer a given like I thought it was a couple of weeks ago. Now there is a real genuine question, because there was a big tournament in Vietnam recently, which was won by Ming Nguyen, and I apologise for the pronunciation here, but what happened there? Who was the leader with whom they went and won? Oh yeah, Sakazuki. And I've seen a bunch of other winning Sakazuki decks doing around, so I'm trying to focus on the more prestigious tournaments here. But my point is, we are entering a situation here where Sakazuki is actually becoming a very, very, very good leader, and this is something we need to have a little bit of a chat about. Good, good. So starting off with the leader then, what have we got? Well, we've got one of the leaders with two skills. Activate main once per turn, trash a card from your hand, draw a card. It's not a game-breaking skill by any stretch, but we do have cycling through your deck every turn. You're seeing more cards, this is a good thing. And of course, blue and black gives you access to both those colours. But then we've got, when attacking, one of your opponent's characters gets -1 cost for the turn. And that's not as big as we've seen cost reduction elsewhere, but the combination of being able to play blue and black, with the cost reduction and the card cycling, all of that goes together to make Sakazuki pretty gosh darn good. So we've got a couple of lists here. We're going to focus on the Vietnam one for the minute, just because it wasn't a 3v3, so it's a little more do what you like. So we've got a lot of things that we would generally expect to see here. We've got a playset of Suru, and obviously, nowadays, if you're playing a black deck, there is a very, very, very good chance that you are going to be playing a playset of Suru, because it is just a ridiculously good card that sees a ridiculously large amount of play. It is the one that on play gives one of your opponent's characters -2 cost during this turn, but it also has counter plus 2000, and you put both of them together, and you've got a winning card that a lot of people are going to play because it's frankly ridiculous. But then we've also got Mancherry here. 1 cost, 0 power, activate main, pay 1. You may rest this card and place 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order to add a black character with a cost of 3 to 5 from your trash to your hand. So it's very specific recovery, admittedly, but it is still recovery, and obviously there are a bunch of cards that fit that description here, and that sounds pretty gosh darn good to me. Now, moving over into 2 costs, we've only got 1 2-cost card, but it's a beauty that you will recognise from pretty much every other black deck. Branu. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, on play, find a navy card other than Branu, add it to your hand, trash the remaining cards. Trash being important because, as we just saw from Mancherry there, obviously black does tend to play from the trash quite a lot nowadays, so it makes perfect sense that you would trash the rest. It's a searcher, but it searches navy, and you're playing a Sakazuki deck, so you're probably going to be wanting to play a bunch of navy cards. That sounds pretty sensible, right? Yeah, this one's going to be very, very nice indeed. Now, as we move up, we've got some free cost, and obviously we're starting off with Bartolomeo. You're going to see a bunch of black cards here that you absolutely recognise, because there are a bunch of black cards that are very, very good. It's got blocker. Simple as that. That is what Bartolomeo has here. However, it is a very, very good card with blocker. It is a blocker that we see popping up and seeing play in the majority of black decks around at the moment for very good reason. Free cost, 3,000 power, oh yeah, and it's got counter plus 2,000 to boot. And that combination of the 2,000 counter and blocker together kind of explains quite nicely why you see this in so many decks. Now, we've also got ourselves a TCG here, one of the best characters in One Piece, and I will not be torn on that. And this is another one we see in most black decks. It's the one from Starter Deck 6, lets you rest this character and give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 cost for their turn. So once again, we got another way to bring down the cost, but you will also notice there, we've got another card that's got counter plus 2,000. We've got a bunch of them, and I know every deck has a bunch of counter plus 2,000. That's kind of the point. Countering very, very important. But still, the fact that we've got it here is lovely. Speaking of Starter Deck 6, we've also got Hina. On play, give one of your opponent's characters -4 to their cost during this turn. So it's just another way to lower the cost. We've seen a bunch. We've seen Tashigi, we've seen the leader, we've got this. It is black. Black love reducing cost. It's one of the things that they do so much. But still, this is quite nice. We've then got ourselves a playset of Rebecca. This being the one from OP05, the new one. And we've got blocker. Now, admittedly, it's a 0 power blocker. Not ideal, but still, you've got blocker. And on play, add up to 1 black character card with a cost of 3 to 7 other than Rebecca from your trash to your hand. And then play up to 1 black character with a cost of 3 or less from your hand rested. So you've still got a blocker. Every deck needs blockers. This has blocker. And it's not going to block well or for long. You're going to block once and get KO'd and move on with your life. But you've at least got a blocker to come and stop an attack. That's a good thing. But then we've also got this other skill that recovers a card. And you can recover a free cost and immediately play it. Or you can recover something a little bit bigger and then play a free cost. You've got a couple of different options going on here. And I love it. This is fantastic. And yeah, there's a reason why this is going to see a bunch of play. You got blocker, you're recovering, you're playing cards for free. I'm loving it. What else I'm loving here is Rob Lucci. Rob Lucci is one of the coolest characters in One Piece. Maybe soon I'll do a video about the coolest characters in One Piece. Also, we've seen an event card with Rob Lucci's Devil Fruit power being shown off properly. And yet we've seen a leader and multiple character cards, and we've never seen that. How? How is that a thing? I don't understand it. Never mind. This new one is a 4 cost, so yes, all those cards that recover will recover this. And on play, you place 3 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order, and then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less, and up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less. You can KO 2 characters when you play Rob Lucci, and it's only a 4 cost. You've got 6,000 power, which is good for a 4 cost, and fine, you don't have any counter here. But I've already shown you a bunch of counter plus 2,000, and you're KOing 2 characters on play. And the thing is, sure, it's a 2 cost and a 1 cost, but I've already shown you a bunch of cards here that reduce cost. And it all fits together very nicely indeed. Now we see Borsalino coming in here very nicely indeed. This is another card that sees a huge amount of play in black, very much a staple. And this is the one whereby 4 cost, 5,000 power, counter plus 1,000. On your opponent's turn, this character gains 1,000 power and cannot be KO'd by effects. And you've got blocker. But on your opponent's turn, you've got a 6,000 power blocker that cannot be KO'd by effects. And a lot of the time, that's what your opponent wants to do. They want to KO your blocker with effects so that you can't block, so that they can get their attack through and have a wonderful old time. Yeah, gutted. It's not going to work. That's why Borsalino's such a gosh darn good card. Because you've got that brilliant combination of, I'm a blocker with decent power. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can't KO me by effects, so you've actually got to attack into me and get rid of me that way. That's why Borsalino's so gosh darn good. We've then got the 4-cost Kazan coming in here as well, another card that's an absolute staple in black decks. And this is the one whereby on play you draw a card. Decent amount of draw, this is quite nice. And when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters -4 cost for the turn. But crucially here, this is when attacking. Every turn when you attack, this happens. So this is going to give you value turn after turn after turn. And this is fantastic. Great card in a deck like this. Now that's all your lower cost characters, but kind of nicely, we've also got the bigger Borsalino coming in here as well. This is the one that just came around in OP05. And on play, you place up to one character with a cost of 4 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. It's classic blue, it's just a bit of removal. The thing is, you got a decently powerful character, 8,000 power, not too bad, and you're also then getting rid of one of your opponent's characters as well, and this adds up very, very nicely. Couple of good things. There are some reasons to play this. You'll notice, by the way, that up to now, this has been a very black deck. This is the first time I've shown you a blue card in this deck. So having access to blue and black in the same deck is really nice. And there's some more blue we're going to see in a minute. But make no mistake about it, this is very much, at least with the builds we're seeing at the moment, a predominantly black deck. At least on the lower level. Because one of the other blue cards we see here is the Dracula Mihawk, which is of course the one we see in like every blue deck at the moment. Because, well, firstly, it's pretty gigantic. It's 9 cost, 9,000 power. But also on play, you can take a 7 cost and put it to the bottom of the owner's deck. So essentially, black has been reducing cost and KOing little characters, etc., etc. But then we get stuff like Dracula Mihawk and Borsalino coming in here. Bigger characters, bit more bulk, but also taking out bigger characters. But also remember, you're still playing all those black cards that are reducing cost. So Dracula Mihawk getting rid of a 7 cost will basically be anything. And honestly, a lot of the time, Borsalino getting rid of a 4 cost will be basically anything. And that's honestly kind of hilarious. Oh, and then obviously you've got Kaido. Now, the list we see that One in Vietnam's only actually playing 1 copy, which is low, admittedly. But we've still got Kaido. Kaido's phenomenal, right? There's a reason this turns up in like every blue deck at the moment. It is one of the biggest, baddest, most imposing cards in the entire metagame. 10 cost, 12,000 power. And on play, you get to get rid of an 8 cost and a 3 cost from your opponent. Well, from anywhere, to be honest with you. To the hand. But it's going to be your opponent's most of the time. But again, 8 cost will be anything at this stage. Like, seriously, your leader alone will mean 9 cost or lower aren't safe. But there should be enough here that it's anything. But then the 3 cost as well, because you're lowering cost so much with all the black cards. I love this. I absolutely love this. And you'll notice that cards like Mihawk, Borsalino, Kaido, these big blue cards end up becoming way better because of the cost reduction you're pulling off with the black cards. Not a coincidence. Now, in terms of event cards, we actually see a few coming in here as well. We've got Great Eruption, a rather lovely navy card. 1 cost, draw a card, then give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 to their cost during this turn. I mean, look, you're drawing cards and reducing costs. That's 2 of the things we see so well in this deck. Also, your opponent trashes a card from the hand as a trigger. Nice little bonus. Probably not the main reason to play the card, if we're honest. Now, one card which you will not be surprised to see here at all is 3,000 Worlds, because it sees a ridiculous amount of play. It's one of the most played event cards in the game. It's a 4-cost card, and you get to place a character with a cost of 5 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck, or as a trigger with a cost of 3 or less. But again, I have to stress to you, because we're reducing costs so effectively here, using all of our black cards, it's not really a 5 cost and a 3 cost. A lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, what we're going to be looking at here is effectively whatever you want, go after anyone, it's going to be fine. Yeah, you know what? It probably is going to be fine. This is a very, very good card. And then the last one that we see coming in here is Hound Blaze. This is a Navy card that helps. It's from OP05, 2 cost. Up to one of your leader or character cards gains 3,000 power during this turn. Then put a character of a cost of 2 or less to the bottom of its owner's deck. Yes, there's a lot of removal in this deck, but again, as I keep telling you, it's blue. Blue tends to do this. We've got black reducing cost quite nicely, giving us some blockers, etc., etc. And then you've got blue coming in with the removal, and this all works kind of beautifully. And then it's also got a trigger here, return a character of a cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand. So it goes to the hand, not the deck, but it is 3 or less, not 2 or less, but you don't get the extra power bump, so, you know, call it a little bit of a tie. Either way, it's a very good card in this particular deck, and it doesn't take a stretch to see where it comes from. Now, we do actually have one stage here as well. And with this, of course, being a Navy deck, we got our old friend Marine Forward. On play, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost to their character during the turn. Nice. And activate main, you can rest this stage. If your leader is Navy, which it is, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 to their cost during this turn. As a side note, remember that Kaido gets rid of an 8 cost or lower, and Mihawk gets rid of a 7 cost or lower. 10 cost is the maximum you can possibly see in the game, and now with your leader and your stage, that is essentially a -2, which means Kaido will be able to get rid of literally any character whatsoever, and Mihawk will either be able to get rid of anything but a 10 cost, or with any other cost reduction whatsoever, will be able to bump any character. This is very good removal. Yeah, this deck's good. Sakazuki, I'm seeing it come across my timeline more and more often over the past couple of weeks. This is turning into a real legit deck. I am not ready to say it's better than Purple Luffy yet, because I'm not sure it is. However, there is a chance, and if nothing else, it seems to be cementing itself in at number 2. But now I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you think this is a particularly good deck. Let me know if you're buying it. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.